Yo, what's up, everybody? We're back again with your 2025 fantasy football fix, and today we're going to dive into my top 25 running back rankings pre draft. We're talking about the elite workhorses, backfield risers, and even some bold names that I'm high on ahead of this season. Now, if you want the full top 70 list, what you're going to have to do is go down to my Discord in the bio. And when you get there, you'll be able to access it through the fantasy football chat. However, in the meantime, let's get into the top 25. We're going to start off with 1 through 5 here because I think that's kind of the top tier. They're kind of a tier of their own. Obviously, at 1, he had a massive breakout year last year. He's behind an elite offensive line. He's got a dual threat, and, Hurts just can hit him with dump-offs all day. He's coming off a career year, so I expect a little bit of regression, but I still think he's the top, if not one of the top, fantasy options. Now, at 2, I have Bijan Robinson, and 1 and 2 can kind of flip-flop however you please. We saw towards the latter half of the year that Bijan Robinson really was running through everybody. I mean, I think the last 5-6 weeks of the season, he was at 25 points almost every week. So I fully expect him to be that consistent workhorse that he is. Maybe some regression from Barkley will put him in that top spot at the end of the year. But it all depends. At 3, I have Jahmyr Gibbs. He's electric in space. He's high efficiency. And hopefully he'll get a little bit more touches this year. It's always tough with him. You got Montgomery as the goal line back. He's going to vulture some touchdowns. But last year, Gibbs showed how effective they could be with that two-headed backfield and that he could still put up elite numbers to be a top-tier running back. Number 4, everyone else is doing it, and I'm going to do it too. I'm buying into the hype with Ashton Genty. That team doesn't have much going for them. They're going to feed him the rock constantly. We saw people can't tackle him in college. Hopefully it translates to the NFL. I think he's a breakout candidate. I think he's got some pass catching upside. And obviously, like I said, he's going to be the workhorse there. At 5, I have Derrick Henry. He's clearly the lone backfield guy, unless they're getting blown out in games in Baltimore. We saw how well he could be last year in that offense. I think he slipped a little bit last year in drafts, mainly because people didn't know how well he would do with Lamar. Lamar likes to run a lot. They got some weapons offensively to throw to. So I don't think people were so sure of him going into last year, but he showed that he could ball out last year in that offense. Obviously, it's a high-power offense. The Ravens are one of the best teams in football. I look for him to have a ton of success yet again. I don't know if this man will ever slow down. Now we're going to jump to what I call my second tier, which is the 6 through 10. These are guys who I could see being elite, top tier. It's really, my elite guys are Barkley and Robinson, and then kind of everybody else falls in line under them. I don't think anyone could touch the two of them. But these guys here in the 6 through 10, I could easily see them finishing in the 3, 4, and 5 slots. Any one of them if they have a good year. Devon Achane is my next one in 6, and I think he's good enough to be the number 3 running back, to be honest with you. I'm curious how it's going to go. They've always kind of limited his workload and split him. They like using multiple backs there. But he's explosive. I mean, big play after big play after big play out of him. And he's very active in the passing game for your PPR leagues. So I think he's a can't miss. Christian McCaffrey, we all know he's elite, right? But the age, the injuries, where does that all fall in? We saw how it affected him last season. What's the status for Christian McCaffrey? I feel like we talk about this every year in fantasy football, whether he was, the number 1 overall pick or a first-round pick or now slipping into the second round. How healthy is Christian McCaffrey going to be? Is he going to play a whole year? Because we've all seen what he can do when he's on the field. At number 8, I have Bucky Irving. Guy broke out last year. I think he's a perfect fit for that offense. He goes well with them. He's a shifty, quick back, and he's very, very friendly in the PPR leagues. I think he's only going to continue to be on the rise. Josh Jacobs, the first 4 games last year, Josh Jacobs did not score a touchdown. And I believe he finished last year with 16 touchdowns. So let's just take that in for a minute. I mean, he's their guy. They have a decent line. There's nobody competing with him for touches. He was their offense last year. Don't get it confused. Jordan Love had a down year. They couldn't figure out who their top receivers were, what their pecking order was. He is the guy there. He's going to get a ton of touches. The only thing that concerns me is that 1 year in Vegas, he got a ton of touches after a big year and he kind of fell off. I hope that doesn't happen again because I love watching this guy play football. At 10, we have Jonathan Taylor. He had a huge year last year. He was really, really good last year for fantasy football. With him, injuries are always a concern. Another one, you don't know if he's going to stay on the field, but when he is on the field, he's there. There's a lot of uncertainties in that offense, the biggest one being his quarterback. Right? Is Anthony Richardson going to play every game this year? Is he going to play half the games this year? You never know what's going to happen. When Anthony Richardson is on the field, I think it's a little bit less for Taylor because Richardson likes to run so much and he's so active. However, when they're both on the field, it's dynamic, it's fun to watch, and I think Jonathan Taylor's in for another big year as long as he can stay on the field. Next, we're going to jump to the 11 to 15 range here. These are guys who, again, some of these guys here went in the first round last year, maybe even the first 7 picks last year, right? So some of these guys have the potential to go all the way towards the top, anywhere after Bijan Robinson. Some of these guys have the potential to go. Some of these guys broke out last year. Some of them had bounce back years. So going through it, Kyron Williams at 11, he had a real good year last year. Obviously, you wonder with him, he's had some injuries in the past. How's he going to do? What's going on with his Rams offense now? Cooper Kupp's gone, but Devontae Adams is there. How pass heavy are they going to be? He always seems to eat, so I'm not really concerned about it. I think he'll be fine. I don't see him really being like a massively upgradable running back in here where he gets into the top 7 or 8 or whatever. I think right around where he is the perfect spot for him. And that's kind of who he is. Chase Brown obviously had a massive year last year. He came into the year, he wasn't the number 1. He was the number 2 in a split backfield. He didn't really get it going. Then all of a sudden, with the snap of a finger, it was the Chase Brown show. He was getting 28 runs a game. I know they've said they want to dial it back a little and get somebody in there to kind of contest some rushes for him. I believe the only person they added, though, is Samaje Perine, so maybe passing downs, he won't be out there as much. But, I mean, Chase Brown, he was an end zone finding machine last year, and I think he'll get most of the touches anyway, and I only expect him to get better. Breece Hall, this is really confusing. First, we don't know where he's going to be because there's conflicting reports whether he's going to end up staying with the Jets or there's been reports about them potentially trading him. He's obviously got superstar talent. We've seen that. He could break any tackle. He can catch the ball. I mean, he can be involved in every aspect of the game. The question is just, can he put it all together? Last year, he just couldn't get into a rhythm last year. They had one of the best O-lines we were supposed to ever have, and it just didn't pan out. It didn't work, and he was affected by it mightily. So the real question is, what version of Breece Hall are we going to get this year? Are we going to get that all-pro guy who's breaking tackles, breaking off runs, catching passes, and impacting the game every snap? Or are we going to get a guy who's kind of just dysfunctional like the Jets? After him, I have James Cook at 14. He's got receiving upside. That offense, though, Josh Allen likes to run the ball. Josh Allen likes to pass the ball. It's the Josh Allen show, and it's always going to be. James Cook is going to be very much relying on taking advantage of his touches, which he was able to do last year, and that's why he's ranked as high as he is. If it wasn't the Josh Allen show, I could see him being a top 10 running back. It just always leaves me to question how much and how involved they'll actually allow him to be with Josh Allen being the focal point. At 15, we have Joe Mixon. This is a guy who I have always been pretty high on. Last year, he went absolutely crazy early on in the season. He slowed down a little bit at the end. It's curious to see how he's going to be utilized this year. I'm not too sure if they brought in anybody in that backfield to contest him. Obviously, he's always going to be their red zone running back. if he can have a year like he did last year, I mean, he could be better than this. I think last year he was a top 10 running back. At least the first 3 quarters of the year he was. There was one point where he was the best running back point wise for a brief stretch there. He had a couple of back-to-back weeks where he went nuts. So we'll see how he pans out this year. Middle of the pack for, for this at least, he's towards the lower end of the 25, but kind of middle of the packish. In the 70 range, though, if you look in my Discord at the full rankings, he's in the top quarter. I think he's a very good running back. He can be an RB1. He was for me certainly last year. It's just if he can do it again this year. Now the 16 to 20 range, it kind of starts to get to where we're questioning people and, who's what and what we're going to get out of them. Kenneth Walker's at 16. We know Charbonnet looms in that backfield. Kenneth Walker is still explosive. He's had some really good weeks, and then he had weeks where he didn't show up, so his inconsistency kind of hinders him a little bit. Alvin Kamara is getting older. He's had some injury concerns. He's an aging superstar on a terrible team with no quarterback and no line. I'm not too sure how well he'll be able to perform. He did really well the first couple weeks last year, and then he kind of settled in. At the very least, he's a great running back, too, to have because he's a PPR machine. Chuba Hubbard, he got paid like a superstar. He probably would have been the only one to hit free agency this year if they didn't lock him up. And them giving him that 4-year contract shows just how much confidence they have in him. Jonathan Brooks, who was supposed to be the backup last year, who everyone loved to take over the job, I mean, he's out again. So, what competition does Chuba Hubbard really have? The only issue is how good is that offense? It's only going to be as good as it is. And Chuba Hubbard, he moves the needle, but not enough where he's going to be elite. Great running back, too. If he's your RB1, you're kind of in some trouble, in my opinion. But great running back, too. Amazing flex. He's going to get a ton of volume. James Conner, to me, he's an every other year running back. Right? Last year, he had a massive year. He did really well. But he gets hurt a lot, and you never know if you're going to get a full season, when his decline is going to start. When he's healthy, when he's running the ball downhill, I mean, he's just as good as anybody else. But when does it slow down? When does it come to an end? At 20, I have David Montgomery. I think myself this might be a little low for David Montgomery just because of the way he's going to vulture touchdowns. He's still involved in that offense. He gets a ton of goal line work. For a while, they were splitting every other drive with him and Gibbs at the beginning of the season. David Montgomery's a absolutely great back, and if he wasn't in a split backfield where he was the second back, he would be even better. He's a safe pick. He's going to get you your touchdowns almost every week, it seems like. And he'll probably be finished a lot higher than this when all is said and done. Next, 21 to 25. There's some guys in here who are really young, maybe you take a chance on. Some guys that we'll see how they're going to do. But Omarion Hampton is 21. He's a rookie with a lot of high upside in that Los Angeles Chargers offense. To me, this is a real sleeper right here. This is a guy that you want to target. It's a run-heavy offense, and I think we'll see the fruits of his labors pay off. Aaron Jones Sr., he's become inconsistent. He's had some injury issues. I would try to avoid him unless I can get him as like a running back 3. Tony Pollard, how is he going to be in this terrible offense? Again, he had some really good weeks, some okay weeks last year. He's obviously a pass catcher. He can catch the ball and do some stuff out of the backfield. But really, how good is Tennessee going to be, and how much of a chance is he really going to have to be super successful? Travion Henderson, he's a rookie. He's got 3 down skills, and you never know what New England's going to do in the backfield. Obviously, they still have Ramondre Stevenson, but we saw at points last year they didn't trust him, so we're not too sure about that. And at 25 here and capping it off in this video, we have Isaiah Pacheco. Obviously, that offense, it's just like, it's a steady offense, right? You don't know. He never seems to be that guy where he's an elite back, but he's always kind of on the cusp and hanging around, and he has some really good weeks. So, like, this range here is kind of like the young guys who could take that next step, and then these guys who, like, have the potential to be really good but are kind of inconsistent, and he kind of just fits in there, too. I know he got hurt last year and broke his leg. Last year, everybody was really high on him. He was going really high in drafts. So if he's fully healthy this year, I mean, getting him this late, if you still believe that he could be where he was projected to be last year, it'd be a steal for you because he'd be your RB2, maybe RB3 that you're getting this low and could pay huge dividends for you. Well, that's it. There you have it. My early on top 25 for the fantasy football season. Do you disagree with the list? Drop your takes down in the comment and let's talk about it. And don't forget, if you want the full top 70 list plus weekly updates once the season starts, sit, start, help, be sure to hit the link below and jump into my Discord. There's a brand new fantasy football chat. We're going to be doing some fun stuff with that. Hit the like button and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys next time.